Hello, everybody. This is Aaron the Pedantic. Today, I wanted to talk about something that randomly emerged in my brain as something that I think would really help a lot of people with their games. Players and DMs. Mostly players, but also DMs. So, this is something that has emerged due to just my experiences in being kind of sad after committing to a game for, some period of time. Maybe like there's certain things that just really bother you and you wish that you would have known that this was how it was going to be from the start. And so to me, I think that it's kind of something that a DM could strive for, is to just let the players know exactly how they are about these things. Obviously, this isn't really necessary. If you've been playing with the same, at least not all of the things on the list are going to be necessary. If you've been playing with the same group for a long time, they know you. They know how you do things. But some things are going to vary from campaign to campaign. Maybe they don't. Maybe they won't. Maybe that's just how you run all of your games. But for me, it tends to vary. So let's just get into it. By the way, Gimdall is shedding profusely. Look at that boy. Oh. Anyway. So the first one is partiality. So this is one that I think most people obscure, or they say I'm impartial. There really doesn't seem to be a whole lot of middle ground because of the fact that most players, I feel like, they don't want to know if you're fudging, or they don't want to know if you're pulling punches or something like that. But I guarantee you that if you do pull punches, and if you do fudge, that there will be a point where me, as a player that wants impartial DMs, will notice, and we will be pissed about it. So that is why I would like to see more DMs just say, yeah, I mean, I usually am going to follow what the dice say, but if it says what I don't like, then I'm not going to go by it. I think that that's honest. I think that needs to be said. You can disagree with me. I feel there's going to be a lot of things that people probably disagree with me in the comments. All right, second, rules. Okay, so this would be this is more of a procedural thing that I think is probably not like the biggest deal in the long run, but it really depends on the players, because some players, they really want you to play rules as written. And anytime that you deviate from that, then they would like a heads up that this is how it's going to be. And I think that that's fair. I think that's fair. I really don't care whenever I'm a player how strictly we're abiding by the rules, provided that if there are things that deviate from the rules, it's got a good reason behind it. It's not, and even then, like, I usually don't care that much. But there are people that do care, and I respect them caring, because the rules are typically how you interact with the game outside of whenever rules need be invoked, basically. And so that is fair. All right. Deadliness. Now, deadliness is something that is, it's, you either say this is a deadly game or you say absolutely nothing. It's kind of like the partial part. I mean, I've said with my 5th edition games, this is not deadly. This is not like the deadly game that I would run with another system. And that's because I've experienced a game where I played for a long time, like several months, and it became apparent that, like, we wouldn't die exactly unless she wanted us to. And that was kind of, it was a shocker. It really hit hard. And I mean, I just kind of felt like I'd wasted my time. I know it sounds like people are going to be like, what? But you had a good time until that point. Yeah, but I had good time under false pretenses, actually, and I didn't have a good time, really, not in that game. But that was due to other things. So yeah, be forthcoming about how deadly your game is going to be, especially if you're talking about, like, is it possible to die of starvation? How likely is that? That's going to come in with the exploration bit. But anyway, combat. So how much time do you think you're going to be spending in combat? How are you going to be conducting combat? Are you using maps and minis? Are you focusing on exact feet whenever you're discussing distances? Is positioning important? Like, just how much of a strategic type, role-playing game are you running? And I use that term very specifically because, like strat RPG refers to things like Final Fantasy Tactics and things like that. This is what I think 4th edition really ended up being, was more of a strat RPG. And 5th edition is often played like that. People have been doing it for quite a while. But there are certain ways that you can run it that are going to emphasize those things. And I don't typically emphasize them that much. Usually I want combat to just be quick and punchy. And then, people die and then it's over. But you should probably let your players know. Some people love having that bit of combat, that's very in depth, and you might spend an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours handling a deadly combat, but that's what they like. And so you should probably let them know. How often is that probably going to happen? Like, is it ever going to happen that you're going to spend that much time in combat? I would tell people combat may happen frequently, but it's not going to be long. It's going to be pretty quick, and we're not going to focus on like the real minutia of positioning and all those kinds of things. We may not use maps. We may not use miniatures or tokens or anything like that. So exploration. So this one is kind of connected to the next one, but really what I mean by exploration is just, how much time are you going to spend not in combat and not in social? So that covers every bit of it, and it also implies, because of the fact that you are focusing on exploration perhaps, or you're not, then that you are probably focusing on resources involved in the process. You're focusing on less of more of a journey and less of like you would do with a TV show. In a TV show, you don't spend time just, showing like every single thing that they visit along the way. You don't see them noticing things and like making decisions on how they, go from place to place. They don't really care about that. It's just boom, you're there. Boom, you're there. Things are happening. So how much are you going to focus on that? Dungeon, wilderness, and city. So this, I felt like, required a separate thing of mention, because honestly, if you are running a game that is primarily wilderness, you're running a game that is honestly probably something that most people in the hobby don't want to do. I like it. I like wilderness stuff. But if you're running something that is mostly city, then in that case, there are probably some players that are not going to be interested, because city often involves a lot of social interactions. It involves a lot of stuff related to crime, legal systems, things like that. It's just a very different game than a game that focuses on dungeon. Dungeon is usually going to be factions, perhaps, but it's going to be very isolated, and you're going to have a very focused game that has just like the most curated, not curated. Curated is the wrong, well, sort of curated. I mean, there aren't really a whole lot of ways for them to go in a dungeon. There's different ways to go. There are ways of handling things, but it's not quite like the wilderness or the city where they can go all across this huge place. And so you should probably let people know this is kind of what I'm expecting here. It might change. Like my Chalt game, I expected it to be mostly wilderness and dungeon. And it's been a lot of city, and that's because the players found interesting things to do in the city, and that's where they posted up. So social/intrigue, I kind of group these together because they often, if you're focusing on social stuff in a game, often there is a bit of intrigue involved. Not always, but they do tend to go hand in hand. And some people do not fucking like social games or intrigue, and that's perfectly fine. For me, we'll go into social stuff a lot of times whenever you enter the dungeon, or whenever you're talking to the guards people, things like that. And it just really, like if I'm playing a city game, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of this. And it becomes a lot more focused on building rapport with factions, getting involved in disputes and things like that. So some people just don't want to do that. And I think that if it's on the table, you should be like, it's on the table. You know, it could be like this. That way people can say, yeah, this isn't for me. A lot of this is just geared around trying to make sure people don't get disappointed in your game. Talking in character, this is something that I added really just because there are some people that is how they get their fun. And for them, they're probably not, it's probably going to be connected to some of the other things, obviously. But there are some people that love talking in character, and this is where they get a lot of their fun. And not necessarily just portraying their character, although that's usually involved. But it's not often as much about making big decisions as your character that they might get their fun out of, but it might be just, you know, expressing their character. And then there are games that I've been in where it's explicitly implicitly forbidden. Basically, my first DCC game I ever was a player in, you know, I was kind of talking in character because I'm a goofball. And not much, just a little bit, but like the judge's wife, who was also playing, was like, "Oh God, you're one of those." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I guess I won't do that. We still had an awesome time because I love exploration, combat, all the other things, but it was different. It was different, and there are some people that just don't really do that. You know, they'll if it comes down to needing to handle things in a social manner, it'll be so, you know, the creature would say blah 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 blah, or that kind of thing, or, you know, like sorry. The player might say, well, my character is going to try to persuade them by using this information and that information, whatever. They don't feel there's a separation there that they're comfortable in, where they don't have a problem just, you know, like saying what how their character would approach it, but they don't really want to speak as their character. Maybe they're shy. Maybe it's just not something they like. So that's something to consider, because it's going to affect how other people are enjoying the game at the table. So yeah, I think it's important to put these things out there. Do I do this all the time? No, not exactly. And I just realized that as I was getting up, I was like, you know, I'm about to start a new game, and I just brought in new players. And I've told them, look, it's going to be deadly, but I haven't really expressed what all that entails. We still have to negotiate like what the ratio between combat, exploration, and social is going to be, and we're going to do that by choosing a starting location for the most part. But yeah, so just do it. I think that it will make things better. You'll have a lot less of those really awkward moments where people are like, I just don't really like this game. And you know, that can be detrimental whenever you've started a game and you lose a player, and then you're hunting for another one, you know, and then you have to put someone in mid game. It starts to get a little, you know, not so much from the story perspective, you know, danger quotes, but more so from the, you know, they're a new person. They don't know how, like, we run things. We're not used to each other yet. They might feel kind of awkward because there's this established group that they're just being pulled into mid-game. And there are a lot of people that are like, I don't want to start join a game mid-progress. I'd rather start from the beginning. So yeah, that's it. That is the video. I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. It seems like it's going to be a lovely one. So, again, show y'all the majesty of Gimdall, who is ready to be rid of this bloody skin. And I can't express like how much I want to just rip this thing off, like, because it's just sitting there. It's barely connected, but like, I just don't want to force it. So, anyways, that's it for today. Y'all have a wonderful day. Oh, I probably am going to try and sneak in my video for DCC on halflings. Y'all may have noticed I haven't done the halfling video. I need to do the halfling video. they're so short. It's easy to look past them. So y'all have a wonderful day. Thanks.